Good morning, Year 7. Welcome to this week's assembly, which has the grand title of self-regulation. We would normally at this point in the year be preparing for your Year 7 exams, and we do a lot of work about how you prepare for exams, because the way you get good at exams is by looking at how you approach them in Years 7, 8, 9 and 10. Now you're going to miss out on that this year, but I think it's important that you start to think about some of the things I would like to cover right now. So I'm going to deal with some of the things that make you good at exams, even though we don't have the pleasure of doing exams this year, or probably not anyway. So every year it gets to August and I'm in school to give out the exam results to the Year 11s who've done them. And the vast majority are happy, smiling, pleased with their results. There are always a few, though, who are disappointed. And I can reflect upon those people who are disappointed by their results. Often I go and talk to them, and you can see they're disappointed. Why are you disappointed? And I get a number of reasons about why their results are not as good. I get this sort of thing from the less effective learners. They tend to blame things that were beyond their control. So the teacher didn't teach me it right. I was unlucky with some of those questions, sir. I don't think the teachers really pushed me enough. I was in the wrong set. I don't think I'm just clever enough. Well, the teachers were just rubbish, weren't they, sir? I was absent for quite a bit, wasn't I? Our teacher was absent as well, and I don't think they supported me. But they pushed me too hard. I'm pretty sure they didn't teach me the things I was supposed to know. I definitely see that the less effective learners do not take responsibility, and the more effective learners do take responsibility. They manage their own learning. They think about where they're going. They think about how to get there. They set goals. They set targets. I want to be in the top set. I want to move up from set 3 to set 2. I want to get along. I want to do this. I want to get that. They come up with strategies. Well, I'm going to set aside some time in every morning. I'm coming to school. I'll do some work. Then I'll do a little bit extra. So I'll work a bit harder than other people. I'll do better than other people. They monitor their progress. They see if their strategies work. If those strategies aren't working, they review it. They think about it. They look at people who are successful. How can I do that? Can I change my strategies? What can I do differently? And one thing that they all do is they use their time efficiently. And that's what I want to talk about mostly this morning, is using your time efficiently. And I want you to reflect and think about how you use time at the moment. And I want you to particularly think about one particular key word: procrastination. So that's our word of the week: procrastination. Putting something off, leaving it till tomorrow, leaving it till the next time. The classic saying is procrastination is the thief of time. If you delay doing something, it will take longer to do. So that's one saying. My saying is that procrastination is the thief of good progress. If you put off starting to work, the longer you put off starting to work, the less progress you will make. The sooner you start work, the better your progress will be. I'll tell you a little story about a friend of mine, Alistair, who I was at university with. Alistair was a bright boy, very intelligent, but he was perhaps the king of procrastination. So I remember our third year project, and we were doing one similar. And you got it at the start of the year in October, and had to hand it in about April. And you figure out what you've got to do. I came up with a plan. My plan was along these lines. I'll do some, in before Christmas, and a little bit after Christmas, and then I'll gradually build it up so I can do my dissertation or my presentation just by a deadline, have it all done. And then we'll be talking to Alistair about it, and yeah, it's a good plan, we'll do that. But Alistair was not good, and Alistair didn't do any work the first term, and so after the first term, his plan was more like that. And you probably know where I'm going with this, because I carried on working all the way through. Alistair didn't, and by the time it got to after Christmas, the work was starting to pile up. He could do his dissertation, but he'd have to do it a lot of work, twice as much work in that time as he would have done if he'd spread it out. But he didn't. Alistair ended up with the last term to go. He had it all left to do. In fact, it got to about 3 days before he had to do it, and the amount of work he had to do in those 3 days was literally off the scale. And so he pulled a few all-nighters, lots of black coffee, lots of staying up late, and he ended up giving in his dissertation. We both gave our dissertation in that morning. And I remember we had a notice board. This was in the days before like text messages and the emails and so on. But you got messages put in your pigeonhole in the thing. And I remember walking out and checking it the next day, and Alistair got a note from the professor who was managing our projects. Alistair, could you pop in and see me? And so me and Alistair met up a bit later that day. And he says, "Oh, Mike, you'd never guess. Gave my dissertation in, and you know what? Yeah, I was expecting to say it was the worst one ever, because he'd not done any work on it, and they said it was the best one they've ever seen." And I looked at him, "Really?" And he looked at me, "No, I've got to redo the whole thing." And that is the classic thing with procrastination. You put things off, you let it build up, and then by the time you do it, there's not enough time, and you end up producing something that really doesn't do you justice, because you haven't managed it as you go through. I want you to try and understand that in terms of some of the brain science we've done. So we have talked about your brain, and particularly about your frontal cortex, which is in charge of it. Your frontal cortex regulates what you do. It's the thing that makes plans. And it's the logical thinking bit. If I do this, then I'll get to there. If I go to that, I'll do this. So it's a really important in your brain. It's one of the things that develops as you go through puberty and the next few years. But if you've got one and you can plan, and we certainly can, how does someone like Alistair, who's a clever young man, go from having a plan like that to a plan like that and have to redo his dissertation? Well, let me show you something. What I have is a couple of brain scans that will show you the difference between me and Alistair. This first one is my brain scan. Yeah, where I am the captain of my ship. I had a plan which I stuck to and managed to get through, and I did a decent dissertation. That one I was proud of and didn't have to redo. Unfortunately, Alistair, like many people, had something of a condition. So on his brain scan, what you will see is on Alistair's brain scan, there is an addition to the captain of his ship. There is also a component called the instant gratification monkey. And the instant gratification monkey has a role. His role is to, when you think it is time to get some work done, he will grab hold of your steering wheel and say, "No, no, no, now is not the time to do work. Now is the time for things which will give me instant gratification, things that will make me happy right now. My long-term happiness is not important, because it's instant gratification. It will steer you away from the long-term towards the short-term. So you might get some short-term pleasure from a quick go on the FIFA. You might have a short-term little bit of pleasure from watching some pussycats on YouTube, or checking your messages from a friend on Snapchat or Instagram. But they are short-term, not long-term. And that's what the instant gratification monkey is all about you're away from your plan to the short-term things. And seriously, that goes back to your brain science, where you have short-term and long-term plans. If you see something right in front of you, you're going to do it. And so one of the ways of managing your instant gratification monkey is to put distractions out of the way. But if you can't, there is a thing which kicks in later on to save you from the instant gratification monkey. And that is, as you get closer and closer to the deadline, there's another component of the brain which will appear, which is the panic monster. Now, the panic monster's role is to scare the instant gratification monkey away to allow you to concentrate on your work. So we get the panic monster will come into your head, he will scare the monkey away, the monkey will get scared, you'll get scared, and you're back working. Never quite so working so well as you might do, because you still have that panic monster on your shoulder going, "Whoa, oh, you've mucked it up, you need to get on with your work, you need to get on with your work." And so you're never quite in charge of it, but you tend to get the things done. It's just you're not doing it very well, and you're not going to get the results that you would like to get. And although it's been a bit light-hearted how I've explained that, it is a serious thing. If you keep putting things off, you won't get them done, or you won't get them done as well as you possibly can. And the panic monster kicks in when you've got a deadline, but there are some things in your life where you don't have a deadline. So there are things like, you know, I'm going to get fit. There's no deadline for it. If you put it off, you never have to get down to it. The panic monster will not kick in and say you need to get fit. The panic monster will not say you need to keep in touch with friends and family. You should do, and it's good to, but it won't do it. There's no deadline for that. It won't suddenly kick in and scare your instant gratification monkey away. So there are some things where you can't rely on the panic monster to come to your rescue. Okay? And I'm just going to show you a little diagram next. Okay. I would, in a real assembly, ask you what you think that means. So I'll give you a second to think about what that means. And then I'll answer it myself. Each one of those dots represents how much time you've got left at school. So each one of those is a week before your GCSE exams. So you've got 3 weeks of this term, and then 6 weeks next term. And then we're on to those big long stripes of year 8, year 9, year 10. And then because the exams start in May and June, you've got a bit of a shorter time in year 11. So if you just look at that, that's how many weeks there are left of your time in the school. And that's where we've got to get all of the content, all of the skills, all of those sort of other things about how to work hard, how to learn effectively. We've got to get all of those things done. And you need to think about how you manage that. And you don't manage it by putting things off. So what I want you to think about this week is how you avoid that monkey and things you can do to avoid putting things off. How you can be the captain of your fate. So, some things to think about. If you've got goals, plans, and you keep those in mind, that will keep the monkey out of your head. If you know, I'm working hard because I want to get great GCSEs, I want to have this job, I want to go there, I want to do this. That's one good thing. Smaller goals are often more useful than big goals. And you keep in mind that I want to get those great GCSEs, but one step towards that is to be better organised. One thing I think a lot of you need to think about is avoiding distractions and how effective you are when you are working from home, and avoiding the distractions, putting your phone out of the way, turning your Xbox off, whatever it is that distracts you from doing your work, don't have it there. What's really important in all of these things is you recognise your personality. What sort of a person are you? Are you like Alistair? Do you put things off and then panic at the end? Because in the end, that's not a great way of doing things. Try and do something about it. Make a schedule. I'm going to talk about schedules in a moment, and I want you to think about the schedule you've got at work this week and see how it works out for you. I want you to track yourself. How are you getting through the work? And one thing that I really want you to do when you think about your schedule is you plan out times for resting, for eating well, healthily, and for doing exercise. In Mr. Mitchell's letter to parents this week, he's talked about how you go about these things. And we want you working hard and doing as much work as you do at school, but we don't want you going over the top. We don't want you staying up until 2 in the morning to finish things off. We want you to be resting when you need to rest, doing exercises, relaxing, doing the music, the art, whatever it is that keeps you happy. You need to be doing those things as well. So when it comes to designing a schedule, I'm going to put a document that's a bit like this on Show My Homework, one that you can download and fill in for yourself. Now clearly you put in your subjects, so where you're supposed to be doing them. So from 9 till 10 you do these, from 10:30 to 11:30 you do these, from 12 to 1 you do these, after lunch you do those. But I want to think about how you use the rest of the day and where you put things in. Please look where I put breaks. You shouldn't be going at it full on from 7:30 in the morning to 10:30 at night, because as much as procrastination is not the right way to go. Overdoing it is not the right way to go either. You need a balance. You're in year 7, want you working hard, want you doing your work, giving of your best, but don't go over the top. Do your work, do your best with your homework, but if it's starting to eat into other things in your life, then call it a day. Your teacher will understand. We put up work that would be for the best person who's working really hard all the way through. If you're not quite getting to the end of it, well, we can cope with that. Your teacher will give you feedback about how to improve, how to get better. But don't go exhausting yourself and wearing yourself out and getting too stressed about all of these things. Life is hard enough at the moment without putting extra burdens of stress on you. So also build other things. Time to catch up with family, to Zoom with your cousins, whoever it is you want to see, your other friends around the school. Put in time for exercise. I'm really quite enjoying the exercise part of this lockdown. I do an hour every day, go for a run. Take the family out on a Sunday, we go for a walk in Richmond Park. Fill up your time with schoolwork and other things. Think about how you do it. Put your homework in. If you've got those lessons at homework on those days, do it on those days. Don't do things. I don't want to see a schedule where there's lots and lots and lots going on in the late evening. Even the early evening, you should be getting your homework done, thinking about going over some of the stuff from earlier in the year, but don't go mad about it. Stay on top of things, keep it going. Okay, so that is the end of my assembly. I will put a schedule up for you to think about how your schedule is. See how you can fit in the homework you've got to do, where your exercise is, what the other things are. You can see I've put a couple of things in like Richmond Park for my family and family pizza night on a Friday. These are things we just do that are parts of our routine, and they give some structure to the week. I really think if you can structure it and keep on top of these things, getting up to do your work in the morning, you'll find this whole process easier to manage. Okay, I hope that's been useful. I'll put this on there officially. I don't want you to hand it in, so just keep your schedule and we'll talk about how you review your schedule in next week's assembly. Okay.